Abe Friedtanzer, Awards Buzz. How are you, David?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Great. I'm excited this film is coming out. I saw it in Toronto last year. It's taken a little bit of time, but I'm very happy that the whole world's going to get to see it soon.
That's great. Me too. It has taken its time, but it's a nerve-wracking moment when the film gets exposed to the wider world. But I'm cautiously optimistic and excited.
I've seen some of your past films like Startup and Hell or High Water, and one thing that I've always noticed is that your locations are very key to the experience of the film. And as someone who lived in New York City, like many moviegoers, for a long period of time, it's cool how you use the city to really heighten the drama. And I'm curious about both the appeal and the challenges of doing that in a city like New York.
Well, it was it was written with that in mind, and New York just felt like it was very obvious as a place that could express the loneliness and isolation within the crowd, and the way that he can Riz's character kind of slips in and out of the radar and is able to, or the crowd, and is able to stay below the radar, and the city felt like it was a really important flavor for that. And for me, one of the great appeals when I came across the material was, oh God, I get the chance to do something in New York, and I really wanted to lean into the idea of not controlling the streets, of letting it run wild, as it were, and letting the city bring its flavors out. And it's a hard thing to do, but like our first day shooting, we shot in Times Square, and we controlled this tiny little triangle where we put a newsstand, but the rest of it was completely wild and changing all through the day. And I really loved that. It just brought out the kind of we as a team we were all like kind of much more flexible in those environments than if you're perfectly controlling. And it's part of the kind of way I try and make films. I try and make films a bit more loose, and I'm trying I ask actors never do the same thing twice, and not sort of bother with continuity and all those things. So not throwing yourself into a live environment is exactly that, which is great. The real challenge was we had 27 days to shoot a 300 you know scene film, and a lot of it on the streets, and so we just had to be incredibly quick, and that I really wanted to get those flavors, but we didn't have a lot of time to do it. So and but we did, and I'm here. I'm glad to hear that you, as a former New Yorker, think it expresses the city well.
Also, the relay service, I feel like, is something that could be so fascinating, but could also be very dull to watch if done in the wrong way. How did you make sure to make that something that was riveting rather than, too soothing and unengaging?
I didn't hear the first part of the question about what particular part. Could you just
The
start say the
relay,
first question?
the relay service,
Oh, the release.
having
Okay,
the
yeah, no,
camera
well, yeah, I'll
looking
tell
at a
you
lot
what.
of the typing of it.
When I first read Justin's script, there wasn't, they were just dislocated voices. So the first thing I did, was say, let's see these people, and let's choose them so that sometimes they're saying um, exactly what's on the page, as it were, and tonally right, and sometimes they're kind of, they're just reading it, and they're not conveying the emotion of what they're reading. And I, the casting of these guys was, a long process, and I had to sort of pack a cards. I was trying to work out which, like, everyone got like two scenes each, kind of thing, and what who was going to convey the kind of the serious information, who was going to convey the romantic information, and who was going to, and so it was an interesting juggle, but they were all, I chose them all as kind of like lovely little characters, so that and they all took advantage of that. We shot that all of their scenes in one day, so it was 25 pages of dialogue in one day, and that was definitely one of the scariest days of that shoot, for sure. But yeah, I hope they come alive, and it's fantastic to sort of lean on that in the sort of editorial of particularly between Riz and Lily's characters, where so much of it is dislocated, but somehow or other using those guys to bridge the gap, was effective and fun.
Absolutely. It was really a fun ride. I appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you very much, sir. Cheers.